Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the GW Basketball Insiders podcast. I'm Liam Omerku alongside David Korn. And folks, we might have a good basketball team. David, I think GW might be good at basketball. So,
Liam, we're back department. I'd like to file a claim.
yes, hello, we're back. Yeah, no, they've looked very, very good. The last episode we recorded was right after the South Florida win, which was up to this point, their toughest opponent. And since then, they have just been annihilating the teams they've been playing in bye games. They beat American by 37. They beat Old Dominion by, 23? They beat, I can't even keep track. They're just killing these teams. They also played UMBC a few nights ago. So, I mean, David, give me your takeaways from these last few games that we've seen.
I mean, I think the big question I had going into the year was how all of this depth would work. Would people be okay coming off the bench? Would people be okay maybe not getting all their shots up? And what I have seen this year, and when we were speaking to coaches and people within the program, all we were hearing was these people want to be here. This is making them more competitive. This is a good thing. We got this. I'm like, okay, we'll see. We've seen, and my gosh, I just think having 10, even 11 legitimate guys you can go to. UMBC was the first game that GW was completely healthy, where they had Garrett Johnson, Trey Autry, and Ty Bevins all playing. All through who had missed various games with injuries up to that point. It's just GW's been able to run teams off the floor. They've been able to blow teams out, which is really good for the net. I know if you've been following Ken Palmer, Bart Torvik, they've been going up, but these blowouts will be really helpful for the net rankings, which take into account sort of, I think, disproportionately to the value in which it actually, has in evaluating a team. It takes blowouts into account a lot in deciding where you are. And the net is the primary evaluation tool for the NCAA tournament selection committee. And Chris Caputo is sort of, I don't want to say manipulating the net, but he knows what he has to do to put this team in the best position. They are blowing these teams out. And it's just, watching the UMBC game, that was, I think, the best ball movement I've seen from not just a GW team, but like an Atlantic 10 team ever, making these extra passes. It really looked like an NBA style offense. And sometimes in college basketball, you can sort of see guys sort of get tunnel vision sometimes, and you can see some shots that maybe shouldn't be taken, or just some, poor decision making on offense. But this team is making the extra pass, taking efficient shots. This is a really fun team to watch, and they're doing things the right way, and they're getting the results they need right now.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, they're just murdering teams.
Yeah.
But it must be said, I'm trying to keep expectations. They have the 329th strongest schedule in the country right now. South Florida is a good team. It would have been nice if they beat Oklahoma State on Wednesday night, but they didn't.
Okay, but Liam,
go.
They beat South Florida without Garrett Johnson.
Correct.
And we will talk about this later, but there's an argument that Garrett Johnson is this team's best player.
Yeah.
And
they're really
South Florida, where, again, we were also talking about this offline, but there's a world in which that South Florida neutral site game becomes a quad one victory. They're playing really well. If they're able to handle Memphis in the conference play.
They'll have a few opportunities in conference play. They actually play. I'm pretty sure their next team is against VCU, so I'll definitely be watching that game.
Common opponents. Coaching staffs love watching common opponents and non-con as a way to prep for early season conference games. Anyway, you were saying, I interrupted.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. They're really good, but I'm trying to, as fun as it is to be oh my God, they just shot 60% against, UMBC or what, American or Old Dominion. I want to try and we'll see how they do against, I mean, I think these 3 games coming up that we will talk about later will be a really good barometer, especially 3 games in 3 days. So, I mean, if they continue, I mean, I can't imagine they're going to be winning games by 30 plus against these better opponents. But if they continue to look good, if they continue, I mean, like they're like pushing 100 almost every game. If they continue to be, the offense looks really good and they're moving the ball well and stuff like that, then I will continue to be impressed. And like, let me be very clear. I am very impressed. Now, they've had the first few years under Caputo, I'm not going to say the stat. I'm going to wait until the end of non-conference play, because I don't want to jinx it. But there's a stat that I've been mulling on for last year, this year, but I'm not going to say it yet. But they've struggled with some of these non-conference opponents in the past, and they're not doing that this year. So that's a really, really encouraging thing. Like you said, this is a really deep team.
Yeah, and so we're talking about these blowouts, right? I think part of it is sort of net manipulation, but I think another part of it is because they're so deep with real players. College basketball rosters aren't that big. They don't have guys to put in really once these games are out of hand. They have the 2 walk-ons, and then they have 2 freshmen who I'm not sure this has been made public, but we've been alerted that the most likely course of action for Chaudhry and Rozier Rowan is going to be a red shirt.
Yeah, they're gonna red shirt. Rozier Rowan, I think, is still coming back from a foot injury, so I don't think he would be playing anyway because he's hurt.
But exactly, so
Yeah,
they don't even have these
gonna
guys to go to off the bench. So they sort of just have to keep rolling out with the guys who, even their bench is really, really good.
Like Ty Bevins is like, this could have been the year that, like, in a different situation, he could have stepped up and been a 6th, 7th man off the bench. And he's had a few injuries this year, but like, he's a really good player, and he's
actually a guy who I think probably could have earned like that sort of defensive minded starter role. Like that's the type of player I view him as, and prop to him for sticking around, because would have been really easy to see all of these guys coming in and maybe want to not even take a step down in competition, but maybe just make a lateral move somewhere to
go like start for Richmond
game.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think if he sticks around next year, like, he could be a serious contributor on this team next year. And it's impossible to.
And I think that'll show. And I think the coaching staff would reward that loyalty as well.
Oh yeah, agreed.
Around another year.
And that's something they've been good at, is retaining players like that. So we'll see. I mean, we still have this entire season to go. Ty Bevins is going to be a contributor on this team this season as well. But
he's in the rotation when he's healthy.
Yeah. But like 9 players averaging double-digit scoring, that's insane. Like that's absurd. And I think part of the thing is the reason they have so much depth is because they're able to spend some serious NIL money, and they clearly spent the NIL money and maybe kind of balanced it out a little bit more, with the exception of Rafael Castro. Rafael Castro is getting a boatload of money, just to be very clear about it. But there's some teams that'll, like, they're going to, kind of load the top end of the roster with the talent and spend all their NIL money there. And then they're kind of fighting for scraps at the, towards the bottom end of it. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I have no inside knowledge on like the distribution of the, NIL money, but based on the level of talent, I would imagine that that's how you get those good of players in this area.
I think something that we can say is that, again, not knowing specific figures, but one of the money played a role in GW's ability to get so many of these high quality depth pieces in without playing time and starting guarantees.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
it helps that, like,
if you look at some of the players maybe coming in, and you're wondering why they would come into a situation where they could start, like, money played a role.
Yeah, no, they're paying them money. Thank you, revenue sharing. So there you go. And it has to be said, Chris Capito has actually done a very good job of fundraising. He does have a reputation for being someone who has is a good fundraiser. He's going to Yankees games, David. You think he's at
Well,
Yankees?
the president of the Yankees, Randy Levine, is a GW alum.
Right, exactly. So
that's a pretty easy way to schmooze with
Right.
the New York alumni.
Yeah. How do you do that what's the equivalent of that for Chuck Todd? Because
For Chuck Todd, well, journalists famously are not the most wealthy of people.
Yeah, but like Chuck
I
Todd.
think Chuck Todd, what you do is you bring you do a meeting at the press club.
The press club
down the road. Liam, were you in my class at the press club?
I don't know if we went. I went to the press. I think I went to the press club in an intro to journalism class. I don't think we went in the same class, but I went. I was.
But anyway, yeah, one of the conference rooms there. I think that's where you did. Or you know what? You do. Actually, no. This is what you do. You have Jake Sherman bring Chris Caputo to the Punch Bowl Townhouse on the Hill. And
can we get Jake Sherman on this show, please?
Jake Sherman, if you're listening.
Yeah. We want you to come on this show.
We could maybe that's an off-season show.
Yeah, no, maybe, like I think that's probably the right move. But I want to talk GW basketball with him.
I can make that happen. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about Luke Hunger.
Yes, Luke Hunger.
Was so impressive. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to be like. I was expecting.
I mean, I didn't really know what to think.
Good.
Right. So he was starting on Northwestern. Yes, he was like starting on an NCAA. He wasn't like starting on an NCAA tournament team. Yeah. But in his situation, he really was like the fifth man. He was not a part of the offense. Well, no, as in on the floor.
Oh, got it.
Like he was not really getting the ball in positions where he could do much with it. He was just sort of the big body there that was there. And he filled that role fine, I think. But because of that, there wasn't really a lot of, I guess, like game footage of him really showing off. And he has great drop steps. He's again, I don't think the UMBC front line is really, or they're world beaters, but he was like getting the ball at the perimeter and working his way sort of downhill, like back to the basket.
Yeah, he's like pulling out spin moves. I was like,
he pulled out a three.
Yeah. He's actually a bad 3-point shooter. So I'm glad that he hit a three. I tweeted something about it. He was like,
so I think he was under 20% for his career, but
yeah, he was like 17%.
My whole thing is, right, this is like with what we would talk about a lot with like Darren Buchanan, is that you don't need to be making a ton of them, but just the fact that a defense has to understand that there's a world in which he makes this three, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just drawing people away from the paint is so good. Because this, again, with all of the passing we've seen from this team, it's really easy. Luke Hunger, again, willing passer. I mean, I don't think he's like Jokic and the high post or anything, but he's a guy who will make the extra pass, which is what you want from your big men. And if he's drawing these defenders away, finds these backdoor cutters, that's a great thing to have happen, to have less sort of just space under the hoop. No, I mean, I've been so thrilled with Luke Hunger. The biggest thing that I think Luke Hunger's sort of emergence has done for this GW team is that it has allowed Rafael Castro to play more aggressively and to not have to necessarily worry about this minutes load that he's going to get. On defense, it's okay if he picks up a foul or two because the offense isn't going to stall out and we'll be able to keep the defense together with Luke Hunger in the game. It's allowing him to be more effective on the floor, knowing that he doesn't have to play 36 minutes and that it's okay if he picks up a foul or two. And I think that's honestly more important than anything that he is doing when he is on the floor, like statistically.
Yeah. I mean, it's super early. It's only been 5 games, but last season, Rafael Castro played 73% of GW's minutes, according to Ken Palm. This season, Rafael Castro has played 48% of GW's minutes. Now, the first 2 games, he was in foul trouble, so that cuts it down a little bit. And like I said, it's still early, but that shows kind of what you're saying, that like you have the luxury, if he gets in foul trouble, Luke Hunger can, however many points he had against Maine. Like it's not like a 5-alarm fire. Is that?
It's
3. I don't know. Anyway, it's not a disaster if he can't be on the floor.
Exactly, and it's. Do you think this is a good transition for the big question I want to ask?
Yeah. Wait. Before we get there, I think this is a good transition to maybe we can talk about how they look against a bigger team as we're previewing these next few games. But yeah, okay. Let's do your big question.
Okay, so I think what's really interesting right now, and a really interesting debate, who is this team's best player? Because I have a lot of thoughts on this, but Liam, if you have an opinion on this, I'd like to cue this off to you, and we can maybe play around, give a few candidates, and maybe see if we can come to a consensus.
I think this best team's player is Rafael Castro.
You think it's Castro?
I think it's Rafael Castro. Yes.
Okay. Why?
I don't know. He has been outrageously efficient this year.
Oh yeah.
And I just think it's nice to have these guys who can hit threes and stuff. But you saw last year, even when they had a team that couldn't hit threes, he can, if you need him to, he can shoulder the load. He can go out there and he can, get 20 points and 13 rebounds if you need him to. Especially if he can hit his free throws. He draws so many fouls. He gets so many offensive rebounds. He's been really good at defensive rebounds this year. And again, it's because they haven't been playing as many big teams. But I just think he can be a bit of a, I guess, sort of a safety valve. And meanwhile, they have as a guard too.
I think against most teams that GW will play, honestly, I think probably Florida is probably the only team I wouldn't feel really comfortable with him doing this against.
Yeah, but he'll be the best. He'll be the best front court player on the floor.
But not even just the best front court player, but he's a guy who you feel good about giving the ball to pretty much anywhere in the half court offense. I mean, not anywhere, but anywhere within the perimeter arc. You feel comfortable giving the ball. He can probably get a bucket.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's what the spacing helps with so much too, right? Unless you're doing double bigs with Luke Hunger, even Hunger, he can make these threes. You can just space it out, give him so much space to operate. This offense is a lot of fun. So you said Rafael Castro. I'm going to name 3 other candidates that I think are in contention for this team's best player, and then say who I think.
Yeah.
I think Trey Autry. I think
Trey Autry this year. He's such a good player.
Are you just saying that to get another Instagram shout out, Liam?
Do you think Trey Autry's watching this podcast? Try again.
Hey, Trey, again. If you are, appreciate the listening. But I think Trey Autry, just what he does on both ends, I think, watching this team, I think he's definitely one of the vocal leaders. He's been around the program. This is his 3rd year. He's definitely one of Caputo's guys. You watch him play, you can tell he's a coach's kid. Always in the right place. He also
talks so much shit, and I love it. It's amazing. Almost after not every play, but at least once a game, you're like, oh, is he talking to the bench? Yeah, no, he's.
And has this chatter ever, caused any ruckus, Liam? I don't know.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not.
I do want to know what he said to Brian Hodgson, because I think it was worse than we were told it was.
But I don't think it matters, because he's a child.
No, I'm with you. It totally doesn't.
Not a child, but he's a student athlete, and Hodgson is an adult.
Yeah, Hodgson. Are we sure he's an adult? Because he continually is wearing white sneakers with an all-black outfit, which is outrageous. It's terrible. So, anyway. Trey
Autry, I think, is in consideration. I think Trey Dinkins, just what we've been able to see him do with the ball in his hands, creating his own shot, taking NBA threes. That's not something you see a lot at this level. And so I think, regardless of the inefficiencies or maybe some defensive, he's a fine defender, but not being an elite defender. I think what he can do with the ball in his hands has to put him in this conversation.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about Rafael Castro as a safety valve, sort of, where you can just kind of dump the ball to him. I think about Trey Dinkins in that way a little bit too, where you're like,
clock winding down. You feel pretty much if you can get 1-on-1 with the guy, I don't think it's a bad shot that he'll get up.
Yeah. Yeah. And when he's hot, he's hot.
I think he's the ultimate heat check guy. It's awesome. And then Garrett Johnson. I think what he did last game against UMBC coming off the bench, my gosh, that was really fun to watch. That was the best I think he's looked in his few games this season. And, it's really cool. 16 points, good shooting from three, grabbing boards. That scoop like layup he had sort of up and under when he was driving in, that was cool. He's
good. That's not the first time he's done one of those. He's very good at finishing with those.
Yeah, and I've seen him like go up for some like putbacks. He's looking athletic. He's moving better than I thought he was moving his redshirt freshman year 2 years ago.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything on his knees. He's coming off an ACL tear and knee tendonitis, and he's wearing no tape, no brace, nothing. So, I mean,
you said Rafael Castro is the best player. I think it's Garrett Johnson.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm pretty sure Garrett has been the leading scorer in the 3 games that he's been back. He's scored
even when his minutes are down, right? He's still such a threat to score from 3 and then driving. Again, he can rebound. He's a fine defender. Just the amount of gravity he sort of attracts on offense and knowing all the different things he can do. It's really, I think he won't play the minutes, I think, no matter what, unless, again, you're in a tournament setting or something like A10 final or NCAA tournament or like late in the NIT or something like that. I don't think he'll ever get pushed to play more than like 25 or 30 minutes a game. But my gosh, is he incredible. And it's just, watching him play. I mean, I'm assuming anyone listening to this show understands the story, missed the first 2 years of college with a tumor in his hip, chemotherapy, other sort of more experiential procedures to try and get that to go down, and then tearing his ACL when he was finally getting back. Oh my gosh. What just seeing him play so well is not just great for the GW team, but it's as, I think, compelling of a story as there is in college basketball to see what he's worked his way back from. And so I think if GW really wants to sort of reach these heights that we've been sort of alluding to and really be a special team, it's going to happen because of how good Garrett Johnson is.
Yeah. I mean, I think they beat South Florida without Garrett Johnson. They can be
that's what I mean, right? So that South Florida win, it's like, oh, maybe they should have won more. No, that was with who I think was their best player. He wasn't playing. And so put him into the equation. And he's a guy, right, because he doesn't need the ball in his hands that much to be an elite player. Like a lot of other, like he's very good. I mean, he has the ball in his hands a lot, right? But he's not bringing the ball up and down the floor. He doesn't need to like drive like we talked about this. He can, but he is just as good sort of moving off the ball and, taking these threes and working within an offense rather than having to have an offense built around him. So it's, having him there, it's really been seamless and he's looking great. And you have to applaud the coaching staff for, I think, as of now, at least, pushing the right buttons in terms of his sort of recovery and not rushing him back when there was that issue, really playing that conservatively. And I think that's paying off now with how well he's playing. Yeah.
And the training staff and his doctors, because I'm sure that they were involved in those decisions as well. It's always, as I think I went on a bit of a rant in the last episode that we had. I was like, this guy cannot catch a break. So it's nice to see him on the floor. It's nice to see him playing well. And I hope he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
So, the perimeter defense. This team is almost top 25 in 3-point defense. 2 players we have not talked about yet, Boo Boo Benjamin and Tyrone Marshall. I think are really assets in that department. So
they're so similar, I think.
Yeah.
Which isn't really something I sort of was keyed into. Like I viewed Marshall as more of a big and Benjamin as more of like a bigger guard wing. Mm-hmm. But having the 2 of them flying around the perimeter is a ton of fun on both sides. They can both throw down some pretty good dunks. They can stay with smaller players and then use their length to really bother shots and prevent drives on the other end. Like they're great.
Yeah.
You don't see this type of size and mobility at the 3 and the 4 at this level. I've been saying that a lot, like how sort of surprising a lot of aspects are for this team as a mid-major, but those are NBA bodies. like Tyron Marshall and Booba
Yeah,
Benter.
and I think the coaching staff has made an effort to bring those type of guys in, those versatile guys who can defend. Like, I mean, Tyrone Marshall he's played the 5 a little bit this year. Like they can
I don't really think so. I mean, he did it like sparingly at the end of South Florida when they were doing like sub in, sub out offense defense.
Yeah, but anyway, he's versatile and he can defend guards and he can defend forwards. So
yeah, but these are both like plus athletes at 6'7", 200 plus pounds. Like that is an NBA small forward, and
and they can shoot 3-pointers.
Yeah, and usually at this level you see guys who
22%. Cut the cameras. Anyway, keep going.
No. Early in the season, I think percentages matter less, and I think he still is a 3-point. He still is a guy who can shoot threes, so. But
he made one of those really like straight line threes in the game on Wednesday. It was one of those ones where you're like, is that ball going to get even high enough to go in the basket? Which is always a strange 3-pointer to watch going. So anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, but I'm just saying at this level, you usually see, threes maybe who are 6'5", 6'4", and they're sort of guards who are these 3-guard sets.
Well, like Trey Autry. Like Trey Autry has played, like in years past, has played a little bit of that position for a GW.
Yeah, and so now that we have those two, and then also throw in Garrett Johnson, who also has plus size, and we're seeing now has that sort of plus athleticism, although maybe that shows more on offense for him than on defense. But these are NBA bodies that you're seeing on this GW team.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, do we want to move on to talk about the upcoming MTE a little bit?
Yeah, and before we do that, I would just like to give a warning to anyone that this MTE is going to be on Flow Hoops.
So, fuck Flow Hoops! I hate Flow Hoops.
After, I think 2 years ago, both the men and the women played their MTEs on Flow Hoops. I think the women's broadcast they had was actually one of the most insulting things I've ever seen in like sports media. Because the disparity between the women's broadcast they did for the women when they were in Puerto Rico against a Power 5 team in West Virginia, and then what the men had, where were they? It was Baha Mar, I think.
Yeah.
Like it was just so incredibly disrespectful. I think this is a unprofessional organization. I think it's kind of silly that the NCAA sort of allows their product to be displayed on this platform with the lack of care they have for it. And I think it's a real shame for fans to sort of be like forced to pay this type of money to watch their team, some of their team's biggest games. And so, yeah, we'll all buy it. Yeah, we'll all do it. And we'll get we'll all cancel our subscriptions immediately Tuesday after the game. But it's be ready for Flow Hoops, and it's gonna suck, but yeah,
it's disgusting. My sister plays Division III soccer, and was very excited when they switched to FloSports. She was like, "Oh my god, we're gonna be on this streaming service. It's gonna be great." And I was like,
"Well, no. Flow, I think, kind of works for these like smaller."
Yeah, but you shouldn't be like, there's like 100 people at the game. There's no reason you should be paying, $15 a month to watch like awful broadcast quality. It's like, just do the awful broadcast quality for free.
Shout out Bill Simmons. I think his daughter plays like D3
I saw that rant.
Soccer or something, and he was crapping on Flow Hoops. So it's cool that it's become a little mainstream.
Yeah. Well, I will say, because my sister plays soccer on FloSports, Flow College or whatever, and my family forgot to cancel the subscription, I will not have to pay for FloSports.
Whoa, big man, Liam.
I know. This is huge.
That's crazy.
This is huge. And, so shout out to my family for being forgetful. So that's nice. So they're traveling. We're recording this on Friday night. They traveled there today, and they're going to practice tomorrow and then play on Sunday. So we were talking a little bit about Garrett coming back from his injury. So I'm curious to see how he looks 3 games in 3 days. I'm sure they'll limit his minutes a little bit.
I wouldn't be shocked. I think they view this McNeese game as the biggest game.
Yeah, I agree with
Again,
that.
talking metrically, I think that has the biggest shot about being a quad 2. Ron KenPom, I don't know where McNeese exactly is right now, but I think they're teetering around the 100 mark. And for this to be a quad 2, they would need them to be, because it's a neutral, it needs to be 100, right?
Yeah, let me consult my notes app here. Right now they're 97 in KenPom for what it's worth.
Yeah, and so the net's a little different.
Yeah, so
I'd probably guess McNeese would be a little bit lower on the net because of their conference.
Yeah, well, and they've only, at least thus far, they've only played two. They played
Exactly.
two Division 1 teams, and yeah, it's 51 to 100 on a neutral site.
So I think they're going to view this McNeese game as sort of the one they're really going for. So in terms of Garrett's minutes specifically, I wouldn't be shocked if you see him have a heavier minutes load in the first game, and then it's more like 15 minutes in the second and third games.
Yeah.
Because I think that first game is really going to be the one they're trying to win. Because I think a win versus McNeese and then maybe a loss on one of the other two would mean a lot more for this program than losing to McNeese and winning the other two.
I hope they can win all three. You know what I mean? Like these are three.
I mean, I think again, this depth should help them do that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you're missing Garrett, you were able to beat probably a better team than you'll see in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, and maybe this is a chance where you see Ty Bevins or Trey. Do we even know what Trey Moss is doing? Is he hurt still?
I think he's still hurt.
But like again, this could be a thing where maybe against Middle Tennessee or something, right? Up 15 at the half, you give Ty Bevins an extended run or something like that.
Yeah, no, and I'd be all over that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and so I think McNeese, you go all out for the win, and then for the next two games, you sort of Murray State, Middle Tennessee State, you still go for the win, but maybe don't worry about maybe the point differential as much.
Right. Well, you don't. Yeah, and you definitely don't want to if someone's nursing an injury or if Garrett's knee feels sore, let's not jeopardize him.
I wouldn't be shocked if Garrett's a DNP for one of the second two games.
Yeah. I mean, I hope he can if he can play 3 games in 3 days and he plays a decent amount of minutes in all the games, then that whole spiel that I had in our last episode about we just have to assume that he's not going to be healthy. I would feel a lot better about his health if he's able to play some consistent minutes. And, like I said in our last episode, I kind of expect that he's going to hit a few roadblocks, and we have to be okay with that. And they clearly have the depth to handle, a team that's 100 to 125 in KenPom without him. So,
So Garrett is technically this team's leading scorer. He's averaging 15.3 a game, which is pretty cool in 3 games, averaging 22 minutes a game, shooting 44% from 3. That's, again, ridiculously efficient, ridiculously effective when he's on the floor. But you do have guys who can step up for him. Benjamin and Marshall start, they can play more minutes. I think those are guys who you could lean on for heavy minutes, and they'd be okay, just with how athletic and sort of they can do a lot maybe without shooting, and I think shooting's sort of the first thing that goes when you're doing these heavy minutes and you're feeling a little tired. So I think those guys you could really rely on for heavy minutes. Jean-Aaron Gurin, he's another guy, doesn't score a ton, but when he's out there, he's everywhere. You really feel and see his impact. So I'd expect those 3 to really step up and maybe shoulder some heavy minutes loads if this team is getting a little tired in the 3 days, 3 games situation.
Yeah. So how do we feel about playing in a tournament where all the opponents beforehand rather than it being a kind of knockout style?
I think in terms of actually winning the games from a team perspective, I think that's probably a benefit because you can get some scouting in beforehand and sort of...
The other team gets scouting in too, just for what it's worth.
Yeah, but I feel like...
When you're better than the other team.
GW is the best team in this field.
Yeah,
I feel like it's more beneficial for them to get a scout in and not get caught sort of with their pants down against a team they maybe weren't prepared for. And so I think that advanced scouting pretty much always benefits the better team. I don't know if that's actually true.
Let's just
But
say it. Who cares? I mean,
I
no fact
feel like
checkers
it
here.
would,
No, I agree.
right? Because I
Yeah.
feel like the underdog would probably have a better chance maybe catching them by surprise.
Yeah.
And so I think that probably helps, but I think from the fan perspective, it's a bit less fun. But
yeah, it kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it.
But like this isn't like it's not like this is a a
This
historic
you're not playing
MTE.
This is
This isn't Maui. This isn't like some of the big Bahamas ones. Like this is just like whatever a normal Caribbean MTE. And so
right. And it for what it's worth, and Caputo has now said this multiple times. I mean, and he said it in more polite terms than this, but I think they kind of got shafted. Like they were promised playing. He said multiple Power 5 teams. Maybe it was multiple. Maybe they were promised playing Power 5 teams, and that's not.
I don't know if that's really.
Yeah, and maybe that's not true, but like.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not true, but I'm saying were those people in a position to be promising that?
No, probably not. And
so I have a tough time. Like
he went on.
I mean, everyone I'm sure has seen that clip that our friend JJ Gottschalk shared on Twitter.
Field of 68 straight up stole the video.
They didn't do the classic aggregating move where parentheses via like JJ got whatever.
Took the video.
So, sorry about that. We'll classic Jeff Goodman. Anyway,
well, I'm ready to go to war. I'm ready to go to war for JJ Gottschalk. I'm ready to go to battle. Just give me the signal, and I will be there with my helmet and my shield.
And so but first of all, I just think it's really funny, and I'm glad that people are seeing this. But anyone who follows GW or follows the A10 or again any other teams at this level knows this. This wasn't a shock to hear him say this. And I'm glad it's getting some play because I think this is a real sort of epidemic of the sport right now. And it's I mean, it was cool to see Caputo. That was probably the most eyeballs that GW's gotten on them. I think since Garrett Johnson sort of made his season debut 2 years ago.
The interesting thing is the question, that's not what the question was at all. The question was, who's the team you're most excited to see in the MTE? And then he like rambled on for a minute or two, and then he got into that answer that has been seen by 500,000 people now, which is the most Chris Caputo thing ever, where he'll like interrupt you halfway through a question and then make his way to like the most brilliant point you've ever thought about in your I don't want to, but like a very like thoughtful and well articulated point about like a larger issue that I tweeted this. This is a representation of late stage capitalism. This is the rich are getting richer and the poor are not able to get their shot. Vote for me for New York City mayor.
Can I share my favorite instance of a press conference answer going off the rails and it causing a little bit of a stir?
Yes.
This was in, I think, probably 2022 or 2023. GW women's basketball versus Fordham. They upset Fordham. Fordham was better than GW that year. And Nia Robertson, in the post-game press conference, had some words to say. In the press conference, it was just me. I was doing the broadcast with Henry Long. Henry, shout out, congratulations on your engagement. Very exciting. But we were the only ones there. It was like still during spring break or still during like winter break. We had both traveled back to campus to call that game.
Like a pair of lunatics.
Yeah. I mean, who else wouldn't do that for GW Fordham women's basketball? I'm just looking for the quote right now, but it was, I asked something. I was like, what did you see from the Fordham defense that allowed you to like play so well? And then she just goes, oh, they came in here trying to think they were all that. They weren't. We shut that down real quick. I then asked her about like, I'm reading my Twitter thread right now about this. Yeah. And then I asked her about, facing Fordham had like the best on-ball defender in one of the best on-ball defenders in college basketball. I was like, what was it like facing her? And she just looks at me. It's like, it was nothing. And like moves back.
He was awesome. Like, I actually really loved Nia
You know,
Robertson.
and then I asked something like, you know, you were ranked 11, Fordham was ranked 4th in the preseason, you know, like big win. And then she said, they prey on our downfall, but we're showing them what's up.
Oh my
Like
God.
maybe the most ridiculous press conference I've ever seen.
And then they didn't let her do a press conference for the rest of the year.
And then I was reached out to by members of the GW administration because they felt that I was not correctly representing the events of that press conference and painting Nia Robertson in a bad light. And that was a crazy thing. So
Yeah,
that's what made me think about that. That's your story from the GW basketball archives for anyone, any sicko still listening at 40 minutes plus.
right. You're getting they're reaching out to you for tweeting out a quote that the individual said in response to a question you asked.
On a press conference that they posted on YouTube. Yeah.
Correct. So I can't keep up. Nia Robertson is at Tennessee now, right?
I think.
Yeah. Good for her. Real quick, do you have any thoughts about the women's team?
I would have hoped for a little more progress.
Yeah, they look like they're playing hard, but they're actually playing probably in like 30. So it's 6:31 right now. So they're and it's Friday night, so they're playing in a little bit against Georgetown. It's gonna take a little bit. They're playing a lot of young players, and a few of these young players are actually looking pretty good. Colleen Feary, I've been pretty impressed with her, but yeah, they're young and they're it's gonna take a little bit, but
you know, this is a team, a program right now that's, you know, I think kind of in a similar spot to where the men's program was when Chris Caputo took over. You know, with Gabby Reynolds sort of playing that James Bishop role as the returner who you didn't really think would return, but is sort of the star on offense. And I think it'll take time. And I don't think you can really judge the success of Coach G or this program until she's had a few more years to really get her players in the program. So I think this year will be cool to see how she handles things. Maybe there'll be a few wins here or there, but it's a rebuilding year. This is part of the process. And so I think it's a shame. I think it's a real shame that the GW women's basketball program has not been able to sort of take advantage of this big boom of like women's basketball and how much attention it can get if you're succeeding. And, you know, I understand programs are cyclical and success and not succeeding, whatever. But I just think it's really bad timing and really a shame that they have not been able to take advantage of this.
Yeah, well, I have faith in Coach G. Do you have any specific thoughts about? I have a few notes about each of the teams that GW is going to play in this MTE.
I just know the big focus is on McNeese.
Yeah, no, and that's the general takeaway.
And again, I hate to be all like net speak and metric speak, but that game has the opportunity to help this team the most in a potential at-large bid discussion. And so I think it's appropriate to have these talks now with where they are in the rankings and how they've looked, and how the rest of the A10's looking. And I think there is no argument for GW as of now to be considered any lower than the second best team next to St. Louis in the Atlantic 10.
Agreed.
And so I think
but if you want an at-large, you got to win all three of these games is what needs to happen. If you want a chance at an at-large, you can't be losing to.
I still think the McNeese win would be more important than.
So Murray State's actually not far behind.
And I don't think any of these losses. But
McNeese is definitely.
I don't think a Q3 loss sinks you in any way.
Well, you just then have to avoid a Q3 loss in conference play.
So no, I think the McNeese one is the focus of the staff,
that's by far
and that is the biggest thing GW is going to get out of this is another potential Q2 opportunity.
Yeah, agreed.
It would suck, Liam, if
what's that?
GW beats McNeese and then they just, you know, maybe they get an injury, maybe something else happens, but they really slide in the rankings. You know, that would be really unfortunate if there end up being no Q2 opportunities in this MTE.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were saying, that would suck. I thought you were saying that GW beats McNeese and it's like this is great. This team is just everything we thought. And then they just lose the next 2 games. And you're like,
Oh, that would also suck.
Are you
That would also be really bad for the program. And these MTEs are unpredictable. Injuries. There's an increase in chance of injury. The practice facilities and the workout facilities are not necessarily up to par.
So are they going to be playing in a ballroom or an arena or what?
I don't think a ballroom. I feel like when you're on some of these smaller islands, you're usually in a gym.
John Gray Gymnasium.
Yeah. So I don't really know, but
all right. So it's a gym. It's a small gym, but it's a gym.
I'm sure it's probably the biggest gym on the island, right?
Yeah. Cayman Islands, man. Cayman Islands, that's expensive, isn't it? Anyway. Liam, I forgot. You know what I wanted to do? I wanted to do like random research on the Cayman Islands and be like, did you know that, Rihanna is from
we
Cayman
screwed
Islands?
up by not scheduling an interview with
Petito
again, because if any loyal listeners will remember last year when
he
FaceTimed us basically into this show from the side of the road when their bus broke down and was giving us like a play-by-play of them getting a new bus to come get them. And they were in like this beautiful vista, palm trees, you could see the beach, you could see the ocean. I think that's probably the best moment of this show's history, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was so funny. The timing would not have worked out as well. It helped last year. I was unemployed and you were like, I think working from home.
Differently employed.
Yeah, I was unemployed. You were differently employed. Okay, the biggest thing for GW in this McNeese game, first of all, McNeese has played, I have this in my notes and I have been waiting for like 15 minutes to say this line. McNeese has played Sisters of the Poor State and Milkmen A&M so far this year.
I saw your notes. I thought that was a joke. Milkmen A&M, are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, it's a joke. It's obviously
okay. I was like,
they've could you imagine Milkmen A&M?
No, I mean there's a men's college basketball team that plays a bunch of D1s called like Mississippi College for Women. So yeah, I don't know.
He's played them last year. So like,
oh, this is a former McNeese opponent. What a snipe!
Yes, yeah. No, McNeese played the disgusting schedule last year, and then scheduled like 4 Power Fives. It was
crazy. You think GW is a tough team to schedule for? Like, I think McNeese.
Like, yeah, well, they're in the middle of nowhere.
Who would ever play them?
Well, I'll tell you who would. Champion Christian and Biblical Studies, which are 2 of the most obvious fronts for money laundering that I have ever seen in my entire life. There's no way those are real schools.
And you know what? We've been going 47 minutes. So on the topic of money laundering, let's wrap on this. Shout out St. Louis for beating Grand Canyon.
Yeah. St. Louis, Santa Clara. Santa Clara, who played McNeese, beat McNeese earlier this year. St. Louis, Santa Clara, Thursday night, Thanksgiving. We will be watching that. We will not be watching football. We will be watching.
What is that? Is that a Flow Hoop special?
Well, I guess if it is, we'll have Flow Hoops.
Well, you know what? Maybe I'll wait another day or two to not delete the Flow Hoops then.
Well, let me look.
Well, you know what?
GW needs to take care of the ball again.
At least Flow Hoops is not Urban Edge. Shout out VCU, Utah State.
Baller TV. It's on CBS Sports Network. Santa Clara versus St. Louis is on CBS.
Before we get Liam started on this path of hatred of CBS
let's
Sports
wrap
Network.
up. GW, don't turn the ball over against McNeese. Thank you for listening. David, any parting thoughts?
The biggest thing that can happen in these 3 games, 3 days, MTEs are injuries. GW has been a victim of that in the past. 2 years ago in Hawaii, they lost EJ Clark for the season with an injury sustained, I think, on the 3rd game of that nightmare of a trip. So I think, just coming out of this healthy is a big deal.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, if they can come out of this if they go undefeated in this, they're in prime.
I would be content with 2-1 McNeese win, no injuries. I would be content with that.
Yeah, agreed. I would also be content with that. But like, if this team can win all 3 games, then like
we're cooking.
We are cooking, and there's a serious chance that GW heads into their matchup with Florida undefeated, because it'll be Army, William and Mary, Delaware after that, who they should beat all of. Army's.
I have one more thing to say, actually. One of my roommates is a big Florida fan. And so he is taking a liking to watching GW basketball with me. And
Is he
every
taking a
game that we-
liking to it, or are you just forcing him to watch it?
he watches with me. He's a big sports fan. It's fun.
Okay.
He's gotten into it. Every game as the season goes on, he's gotten more and more nervous about the GW Florida game. And he's gotten especially nervous because he was talking about how they like handled Miami. And then I let him know that GW is actually ranked above Miami in KenPom.
Yeah.
And that was pretty funny to see. And so it'll be a fun time in my household if GW is able to beat Florida. And I will
be there, right?
I will be there. I just booked my flights and hotels. I will be there with Abe Rothstein, friend of the show. And there's a rumor about someone else who might be down there with us. If you're listening to this, you can be privy to this information too. But there's a rumor that Jimmy Patsos will be making the trip.
Oh, God. Yes, let's go. He's been on fire on these fucking broadcasts. He was talking about the Great Gatsby. It's incredible.
I think the best was when he got mad at Byron for not calling him back.
Yes. Yeah, he was like, Byron, I'm going to miss you, Byron.
Jimmy Patsos is why I think my roommates tolerate having GW basketball on the TV.
He's hysterical. And he's so funny because there's so many people that are like, I can't even listen to him. His voice, I simply cannot listen to. But he's one of the most entertaining commentators I have seen in all of sports.
So there's a world in which after the GW Florida game, me, Abe, and Jimmy Patsos are hanging out on the Fort Lauderdale beach bars together.
You guys hit the club. That would be awesome.
So there's a world in which that happens. Liam, if that happens, we're doing a live GW Basketball Insider from the elbow room on the Fort Lauderdale Pier. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Sweet.
We'll set it up. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll be back with something after the MTE.